keep the music rolling tonight, Seamus. I feel good about it.
No need to cut this one. No need to cut this one early.
No, we don't. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the CTW Postgame Show. I am your host, Robbie Haytayan. Joining next to me is my co-host, Seamus Zarlingo. You know the man. The Celtics tonight, they bounce back finally after a 2-game skid. They come back at home against the Washington Wizards in a win in commanding fashion. 136-107 was your final score. Seamus, the Celtics, they looked a whole of a lot better tonight versus what we saw the other night at home against Utah. A good amount to dive into tonight. Obviously, let's start off. Initial thoughts, reactions, takeaways. I kind of think I already know what you're gonna say. I can picture, I can hear it. You're where you're at right now, but let's hear it.
Well, now I feel like I'm put on the spot. I feel like I have to fill expectations here. But tonight's game, to me, it's a little like last year in a sense where we're going back and forth and we know this is an opponent in which the Celtics are supposed to be. And it tells us a little bit about the Celtics, right? Says, okay, Celtics are definitively better than the Wizards in a longer sample size. But the beginning of this game was not too great. Not too great for the Celtics, who were down 12 early. But that second half avalanche eventually came for the Celtics. And it was a blowout near the end. And it was much of the same from what we've seen most of this season when it comes to the inconsistencies of who's on and who's off. And you could say some of the players who are on tonight are maybe some of the typical players who are on for the Celtics. But it's much of the same of half of the lineup is a little lackluster. Meanwhile, the other half really carried the load. And that was the story for tonight with the Celtics in total. But the discrepancies, right? The discrepancies of what we've been looking at all season long. What are the Celtics winning and losing when it comes to the statistical categories of the game and even on film? Tonight, the turnover discrepancy for the Celtics, they were forcing turnovers, especially in that second half. It really was that we need some duct tape up here.
I needed to wipe it.
I need to phone Franco for some duct tape right now.
I know, right?
We've got to get on that sponsorship because we use a lot of it here.
Yeah,
the pink kind, the white kind, some cheetah print. We need some cheetah print duct tape here. But
it's some Clover duct tape.
Clover, exactly. Or some NBA Cup for the next game on Friday. The plug there. But ultimately, the Celtics, the turnover discrepancy tonight was the biggest factor in this game. And we've pointed to discrepancies all season long, whether it's the rebounding category the Celtics are losing. Is it the turnover discrepancy tonight? The Celtics, they're winning that category. It's all about where the Celtics are winning and losing. And tonight, they caused all those turnovers, in which eventually turned into extra possessions and extra points for the Celtics. And it's a simple equation. When you're taking more shots than the other team and hitting at a higher percentage, and those shots are coming off of the points off turnovers and all of the turnovers in which your opponent is giving you. I mean, the Celtics, that's how they won this game, especially in the second half tonight. But the first half wasn't all that great at all. I mean, it was a little all right. The Wizards, we can't really get anything going on offense. We're handing a 37-point quarter to a team without a definitive star, which, who knows? Alex Sarr, just saying, looks like maybe might be a core piece for the Wizards going forward. But regardless, this Wizards team early on, I think most of the Celtic nation and the Celtic fan base, they were sitting there looking at this one going, are we really on the same level as the Wizards right now? Are we really? I mean, if you look at the standings, the Celtics are, I mean, they're down in the standings right now. And the Wizards, they're 1-7. You see them on the bottom here. But the Wizards, they're all the way at the bottom. They're 14th, just above the Brooklyn Nets, who are last. The Brooklyn Nets don't have a win yet. But the Celtics, that first quarter looked like maybe, just maybe, the Celtics were on the Wizards level. And then eventually the Celtics established themselves as the more veteran-led team. Derek White making big plays in this game. You know, you look at his shooting numbers, not the most fantastic shooting numbers again for Derek White, but his volume was lower. I felt like he was doing all the little things again, especially on the defensive end of the floor, and even the assist number was high for Derek White tonight. But guys like Derek White, Jaylen Brown, another phenomenal performance. If you can just get those turnovers down, I'm telling y'all, MVP conversation for Jaylen Brown this season. I mean, he's been phenomenal outside of the turnovers. outside of the turnovers. But if you looked at who performed well for the Celtics throughout this game, I mean, it was all of the veteran leadership, especially near the end, plus Minot, plus Keita, right?
Yeah.
At the end of this game, in which led the Celtics through. And the Wizards just didn't have that extra punch. It was Alex Sarr, and then you had, CJ McCollum, 1 of 10 tonight, and nobody else was even a factor for the Wizards. You could say Corey Kispert, maybe off the bench, but outside of him, the Wizards just fell apart in that second half. The Celtics established themselves as a mid-tier team tonight, a team who can beat the Wizards, but they didn't do anything particularly special while doing so. Considering that first half, I mean, this game is a blowout at the end, but that first quarter should never happen. The Celtics should never have needed, they should have never needed to come back in this game. And they had enough time to do so. And people should be satisfied with this win at the end, because let's face it, every win is going to be one we should cherish this season. We don't know how many of them there are going to be. There's not going to be 60 of them, just saying, folks, like there were in the past. But this game could have been handled a lot better, especially with this team coming out, because the potential it's always these stretches of potential, right? The potential displayed in the second half of this game, that's what we know this Celtics team can be, especially at the top of the rotation and who was actually performing well. Well, we didn't see that much in the first half. And if we could have just seen that throughout the entirety of a game in which the Celtics are facing really a tanking team, let's face it, that would have been a better result than the Celtics needing to come back in this one. But it's just the nature of this team. It's going to be up and down all season long. And thankfully, this is one where the Celtics finished in the up category, but it was not exactly the smoothest of sailing throughout the game.
Couple things, actually. One, not surprised with what you said. Great win, but it's the Wizards. Let's be, 100% transparent here. This does not move the needle for me. Right. Obviously, when you're 3-5, you love to get to 4-5. 3-6 would have been miserable at home against the Wizards. I think what I'm starting to notice with this team, because again, you pick up on trends early on in the season. And a trend I'm starting to notice with the Celtics team is and honestly, not surprised, it is Missoula ball. There is a correlation to the number of threes they're taking and how they are playing. There is a correlation there. Monday night against Utah, we ran through those numbers from behind the arc. I mean, we went through Brown and Simons and White and Pritchard and Hauser. And I mean, everyone was shooting over 8. Tonight, 4 from Brown, 6 from Pritchard, 5 from White, 10 from Simons. Mind you, he started off 0 for 5, then, really caught fire, went 4 or 5 on the last back half of that 10. So again, that's kind of why he's here, is to be a sprayer. You don't hate that. But I think what we're seeing here is the Celtics, their play style is going to determine whether or not they are going to be a good team. Because if they are going to play the same brand of basketball that we have seen the prior really 3 years of Celtics played under Joe Mazzulla, they will not succeed, right? This is a team that doesn't have enough talent to play that brand of basketball. However, if they can find a new identity, this could be a team that has some luck in the regular season and maybe catches one of the back end spots in the playoffs. I think through the first 9 games, I think that's a fair assumption to make. As for tonight, I thought Boston did a great job at controlling the pace of the game post first quarter. I thought Neemias Queta was phenomenal tonight. I mean, 15 points, 12 rebounds, 7 of 7 from the floor. We came on here just Monday night and saying, Nemi actually, you don't have a lot to complain about him. He's been pretty solid for the C's so far at that starting center spot. I mean, Sarr is a guy that he was a first-round pick a couple years ago. He's actually had a phenomenal season. Sarr kind of had his way tonight against Queta, 31 points. But in terms of paint domination, I think Neemias Queta did a much better job at controlling the interior inside paint, which is really what we ask for him. Minot, I thought, was phenomenal. And then I think the bench, who started off pretty putrid, mind you, I believe at halftime, the only person on the board was Jordan Walsh with 2 points. They were able to find their groove in the second half and really contribute. Again, the starters didn't really play many minutes. 25 from Brown, 24 from Neemias, 23 from Pritch, 28 from White. So, you had those starters rested and on the bench early, and you had the bench really just continue the pace of the game, a pace of play led by Simons and Minot. which I thought was huge. So, but I mean, you're absolutely right, Seamus. This is exactly how you put it, right? It is a good win at home against a lesser team. And you sit here, if you're a Celtics fan, and you still should be a little confused, because I'm a little confused, because what we've seen now from Boston is a whole lot of random data points. Like, if you were to put this on a chart, there is no median, there is nothing, there is no common trend right now for the Celtics that you can really pinpoint. It's going to take a little bit more time with this team. But yeah, I mean, this is nonetheless a good win, right? I mean, any win is a good win this season. You're right. You're not going to see 60 of these. So let's take a look at the lead tracker tonight. I mean, a huge sea of green post midway through that second quarter. Celtics really found their groove, but that first quarter and a half was pretty rough for the Celtics. As you can see, Washington tonight, guys, they got off and kind of had their way, going up by as many as 12 late in that first quarter into the second quarter, before Boston eventually found their groove halfway through that second quarter, and they did not look back, guys. It was a green wave from there on out. It feels good to say that after that Utah game, Seamus. But again, Boston led by as many as 33 points. The game was never tied tonight. A matter of fact, there was 5 lead changes here in that second quarter. And at the beginning of the game, there were 5 times. There was never a change of score after the Celtics took the lead. Seamus, you look at this lead tracker. We talked a little bit about it, but we haven't gotten much into the X's and O's. Let's first talk about what went wrong with the Celtics in that first quarter, and then tell me a little bit about how Boston was able to swing the C and have it go green.
Well, first, it was the second chance points in that first quarter, and it was the free throw attempts as well. I mean, they circled it on the broadcast right after the first quarter. Scal went, "This is not good," and circled it right there. Really, I don't remember exactly what the discrepancy was, and I want to say NBA.com, they're hiding the data from us right now. No box score data available. First quarter, NBA.com, got to come out with that quicker. But ultimately, that first quarter, I mean, that was part of the story. It was the rebounding battle wasn't going great for the Celtics once again. Wizards, a lot of second chance opportunities. The Wizards were also getting around the paint. And Alex Sarr tonight, I mean, Alex Sarr was absolutely phenomenal. He ended the night 12 of 20, 4 of 5 from 3, and of course 31 points, but he was getting inside the paint and getting what he wanted at different points in time. And he was really the unstoppable force for the Wizards, especially early in this game. Now, as the game went along, of course, the Celtics were able to gain steam and can not really contain Sarr, but contain the rest of his teammates, as we saw. But that first quarter, the Celtics couldn't get a rhythm going offensively, and then defensively, giving up 37 points. Those are the type of quarters the Celtics need to maintain their defense, essentially, because offensively, we understand this team goes on lulls, and their peak capability is what they've been able to do in some of these quarters where they put up 40 points. But defensively, they cannot let the rope go entirely. And we've seen a couple quarters like that, especially against teams where the Celtics are not necessarily facing special talent, right? Teams without a definitive star player, which tonight you could say is one of those teams. The Wizards don't exactly understand who's going to be there in the future. They understand part of their young core, but when it comes to, all right, who's controlling the ball right now? Who's scoring the basketball? Whose responsibility is it to run this offense? The Wizards' identity is not fully shaped. And from that standpoint, the Celtics, that kind of a team is easier to defend in time because there's no 1A superstar to really worry about. And the Celtics have given up some of these lackluster defensive quarters against those type of teams. Think about the Pelicans. Think about, I mean, I understand the Sixers, they have Maxey and Edgecombe and Embiid, but that first game was a little egregious, especially allowing Edgecombe to do what he did. But some of these games, the Celtics have just let the rope go a little too far against the Knicks, against the Pistons. That first quarter was definitely one of those quarters, 37 points, but it's the Wizards. It was the Wizards. And the rest of the night, the Celtics, that third quarter, that's of course where the Celtics, that the whole game went downhill in the other way, as we saw on that lead tracker. But the Celtics, they put up, let's see, in that third quarter, just to give the point total here. So the second quarter, mind you, actually, 44-23, the the Celtics put up in the second quarter. Then the third quarter, 32-20. So that mid-tier, that middle stretch of the game is where the Celtics won this. But that first quarter, I'm just a little. This is where I don't know. Like, this is against the Wizards, right? And the Celtics are down 12 early. We saw on Saturday a team like the Rockets. They went up early against the Celtics, and that game was never close. And I just worry, right? Some of these games, the Celtics, they haven't exactly come out and looked great in.
No, not at all. Well, and that's, I think the tough part about it too is like, that's where it goes back to what I was talking about with the data point. It's like, I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to put these guys right now. Like, where is this Boston team supposed to stack up when you look at the upper, like, are we even considering the upper half of the Eastern Conference? It's too hard to rank these guys right now. And I think that is the tough part of looking at this team in assessing them. So when you ask me, it's like, okay, I really like what you said. Like, Boston kind of came out sloppy tonight against the Wizards, right? This is another trend we've kind of seen where against Houston at home, right? Second out of a back-to-back. Sure, maybe there's that excuse, but that's something that they did against Houston. And then against a better team, it was Houston all night, right? So it was like, okay, did Boston, I don't want to say get lucky, but was it Boston able to take advantage of the lack of, success this Wizards team can have? Like, is that what caught Boston the win tonight? Was that Washington is so much superior compared to the other competition? And I think that's the struggle. So I think Boston did a lot of good things tonight, right? I think they came out sloppy and lazy, and no one was really there. Brown had 15 of the first 19 points for the Celtics tonight. Like, Jaylen Brown was really the only guy who showed up and was ready to play by tip-off. And then I think eventually Boston got into their groove, right? But what you're kind of saying, and I'm going to agree with you, is what if this wasn't Washington? And I mean, I get it, a win's a win, but like, that's a fair assumption to make right now. It's like, okay, what if this is New York? Okay, what if this is even Orlando? Or what if this is Sacramento? Like, because Washington really is at the bottom. They are really on a whole other like peg underneath everyone. So it's like, it's tough to say.
Well, real quick, can I get into my club list tonight? Can I get into my club list right now? Because I think this tells part of the story of the game. So here's the club list. So tonight, out of everybody who played, here's who's in the VIP club. Jaylen Brown, Josh Minot, Neemias Queta, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White. Come on in. Come on in. VIP club. The red rope, red
First
carpet.
Time all year. First time all year.
Unclick. Here we go. Come on in. All right. Step back. Here's who's banned. All right. I'm going to need y'all to step back. Anthony Simons, Sam Hauser, Luka Garza, Baylor Shireman, and of course, that kid over there, Hugo Gonzalez. He's too young. And Walsh, I'm going to need to see more ID from Walsh. I'm going to need to see more ID from that guy. I've seen him out here before, but not quite. I don't know. This man looks a little under. I don't know. I'm going to need to see more ID from Walsh. I need to see a little bit more. But tonight, the Celtics, partially looking at that list, won on pure veteran execution. I thought specifically in the middle portion of the game, a guy like Jaylen Brown and Derek White, those two specifically, they were simply making plays against an inexperienced Washington Wizards defense. And Jaylen Brown, there were times he was just piecing up whoever he wanted. And that was the tail of the tape. But I didn't necessarily feel like during the stretch the Celtics were doing something special, because I'm trying to, right, this is one of those, the analysis of the game is not going to match up with the result from how I see it, because a lot of people are going to see the blowout and the Celtics have won, they beat the Wizards and yada yada, they scored 136, and we should come in here and say all these positive things. And yes, the Celtics do deserve some praise from the standpoint of the turnover discrepancy tonight. That was the biggest factor in the game. as I mentioned earlier, a number like that, in which tonight the discrepancy between the Wizards and the Celtics, it was 19-5 in that category. The Celtics certainly deserve credit for executing offensively and executing defensively, forcing all those turnovers and turning them into points. However, when I'm looking at the offensive end of the floor and I'm watching Anthony Simons miss a million 3-point shots, I'm watching Sam Hauser miss a million 3-point shots, and I'm watching Jaylen Brown, most of these buckets are isolation attempts where the Wizards defense, they don't have the most sizable guys out there. They don't have guys who are getting up in your grill. They don't really have, the Wizards don't really have, as we know, all NBA defenders. We know this. During the game, I felt like the Celtics, they won off of talent. They won off talent. And yes, that talent had to execute, but over time it was just the pendulum swinging. And I gotta say, aren't the Wizards on the second night of a back-to-back? Are we? Wait, I gotta get data on this. I feel like they're on the second night of a back-to-back. But this is what I'm saying. The start of the game was not good. And then throughout the game, I'm going, I like what half of our rosters do.
They're not.
The other half I'm not really sure of. But then offensively, I don't feel like we really have our ish together at all. And it's mostly like, okay, Keita, wide open lane here. Okay, we're making that easy, simple read. Okay, Jaylen Brown, step back three here. Jaylen Brown going to the rim, getting what he wants here. It just feels as if we face a better team, right? I'm watching the Knicks and the Timberwolves, right? I had the Celtics and the Wizards in front of me. Then I have the Timberwolves and the Knicks in the background. Either one of those teams, if the Celtics face either one of those teams in this spot, I'm just not sure the same offense is working. And if you're not, and also if you're facing a more experienced team, say like the Timberwolves or the Knicks who were facing each other earlier, are they going to make as many mistakes as the Wizards did? This is one of those games we cover and go, the Celtics are under 500 and they're playing a tanking Wizards team. And congratulations, they won. But what can you really? It's really the win. I mean, it's a win. A win is a win. You can't really take anything and say, "Wow, this Celtics team is really coming along," because against a different opponent, I don't know if the same result happens, especially with how the game started. That's what bothers me the most. The fact the Celtics were literally sitting there at the beginning of the game going, "Okay, are we on the same level as the Wizards?" And over time, it proved to be, okay, we're not. But that took mostly execution of talent, and it didn't feel like, oh yeah, our identity is really coming out and showing itself truthfully. I mean, our best game was really against the Cavs on that Wednesday. We have not seen a level of play like that since.
And you know what, though? Can we talk about something you said in the idea of credit? Like, oh, the Celtics, they should get credit tonight. It's like, no. You're 4-5. You don't get credit for being 4-5 winning a game against the Wizards. Did they look good? Yeah, sure. Did they maybe take a progression and a step at potentially figuring this thing out and maybe becoming and winning more games? Sure. But in terms of credit, I'm not going to sit here and allow a Wednesday night game against the Washington Wizards, the 1-7 Washington Wizards, I believe now, swing the pendulum for me on where I believe this Boston Celtics team stands. Absolutely not. No, they get no credit from me tonight. Zero. I'm maybe 2% credit. It's like, sure, but it's like we should be so far past the Washington Wizards win meaning anything. I don't care if we're 5 games in. I don't care if we're 1 game in. I don't care if we are 50 games in. Roster-wise, the Celtics are better than Washington. You talk about the veteran experience. You talk about the talent. You talk about the construction. Boston's not a very well-structured team, but it is still better than the Washington Wizards in almost every facet of the game. And so I really really want to put that and say that is because it's a credit. Okay, like No, no, I'm not ready. 1-7. Yeah, the Wizards are 1-7. I don't want to sit here and give Boston much credit. It's going to take a lot more for me to swing my narrative and my opinion on where this team is going to finish and what they could look like.
And what they've just the 3 games, okay? 3 games we've played so far out of these, 9 that I really look at and go, okay, here's what these games prove. It's the Jazz game from the other night, tonight's game against the Wizards, and that Monday night game from a week and a half ago against the Pelicans. Those 3 games, okay? Those 3 teams are the worst teams in the NBA, minus the Nets, okay? I cannot wait until we face the Brooklyn Nets. We might, that one's going to be a spectacle. But those 3 teams, the Wizards, the Jazz, the Pelicans. Okay, the Celtics struggled throughout the game against the Pelicans, pulled away at the end. Great, won that one down in New Orleans. That was without Zion. Then against the Jazz, the Celtics start that game tremendously. I mean, that was a perfect start. At the end of the first quarter, it's a 4-point game. At halftime, it's a 10-point game. The Celtics, they should have been up by more. Then eventually in that second half, completely allow the rope to slip away, especially on the defensive end of the floor. And the Jazz win that game. Inexcusably. Tonight, the Celtics go down by as much as 12 early in this game. And of course, come back and throttle the Wizards. But those 3 games, what they established to me is, okay, these are 3, we understand, the Wizards, the Jazz, the Pelicans, they're 3 of the worst teams in the league. Again, minus the Nets. The Celtics are better than these teams. We know this. But they're not head and shoulders above these teams. They're not, nobody's Oklahoma City right now, but they're not amidst the upper tier who look at these games and go, we could rest guys and take care of this. Years past, the Celtics have done this. Now, sometimes it's bitten them, we know, but most of the time, the Celtics are coming out with easy wins. It's not like that anymore. It's not like that at all. The Celtics, most of the time, say they went 2-1. They went 2-1 in those games. They should have went 3-0. They can win these games, but we're noticing against the Pelicans, oh, it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Against the Jazz, oh, we start well. Oh, we don't finish well. We actually lose that game. Tonight, we don't start well at all. Finish well, win the game. That's how these type of games are going to go, and that's where the Celtics are within the relative rankings of the league. The Celtics are not amidst the top of the league where they can just handle these games no problem. These are going to be more roller coaster rides. Now that I should say, the Celtics should win. In the end, most of these games, the Celtics should still win because the Celtics are still a better team than these bottom feeder teams. That being said, it's really not going to be a smooth sailing ship as we saw in years past where you can just look past these games and go, okay, Wizards on a Wednesday. Yep, just mark that one as a win. No, we saw in that first quarter, we're all questioning if the Celtics are on the same level as the Wizards. Now, they established again in that second and third quarter, the Celtics are above the Wizards, but they're not quite top 10. The Celtics are probably somewhere around 16, 17, 18, 19 in the league right now. If you're really giving relativity of each team where they are in the odds market right now, the Celtics, when it comes to upgrades, I wouldn't say they're top 15 right now. They're somewhere lingering 15 to 20, and that's what these games really prove to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going just off a record alone, they sit at 18th, which would
well, there you go. There you go. 18th would be a record.
And you know what? Through those teams ahead of, because there's 3 teams tied at 4-4 for the 15th, for tied for 15. So even if you were to go and look at those teams ahead of Boston right now in the standings, there's not many you can pick out and say, oh yeah, Boston is better than them. I mean, Portland, maybe there's 1. Toronto and Atlanta, maybe there's 3. But I mean, outside of that, you have Oklahoma, Chicago, San Antonio, Detroit, LA, Houston, Denver, New York, Cleveland, Milwaukee. I mean, there's what? A 10 right there, a 10 or 11 right there that you're like, yep, they're definitely better. Golden State, probably not. Portland, I already mentioned. Miami, we could be better than Miami. So it's Portland, Miami, Minnesota. We're not better than Minnesota. Toronto, Atlanta. So there's about 5 teams, which again puts Boston probably into, at their best, I think, like them playing their best ball puts them from the 13 to 10 range. And I think, and again, it's too early to tell, I think Boston might just be a team that's like a win to lose to type of team. Like they might just be a teetering 500 ball club.
When you say their best basketball is 10 to 13, where do you think they are right now? In the whole grand scheme of what we've seen, right? Because we know, okay, the best Celtic product, we've seen it at times, right? Against the Cavs, we saw it, we know various quarters, really. It's hard to pick out which quarter where now, 9 games in, but where would you slot in the Celtics right now out of the entire grand scheme?
Right now, I would probably say they're around 20th. Probably right now they're around 20th. They're on the same, they're at the same peg of Utah, Charlotte, Phoenix. I think they're in that realm. And which is crazy. But I mean, it really is. I mean, if you look at it, it's like the way they've been playing, they haven't been playing one is consistently, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's not like they're playing consistent in, oh, maybe, you know, a bad fourth quarter there, a bad 3-minute stretch in a close game. There's a bit, but it's been so up and down, right? I mean, it has really just been one game's up, one game's down, another one down, another one up, another one up, another one down, another one down. It's like that really has been the trend so far through these first almost 10 games. 10th will be on Friday night in the NBA Cup. So it's like, yeah, like probably right around in the middle of the league. And that's what that's the trend right now, Seamus. If you were to ask me what is Boston trending for, they're probably trending for the 8th or 7th play-in spot. Like that's probably where the ship is sailing towards. And I think that is the worst spot to be. I think if there is one spot Boston doesn't want to be in this season, it is in that spot. I think they either want to be really bad contending in the lottery, or they want to be really good contending for a top 6 seed, potentially getting Jason Tatum back in the playoffs. I think those are the only 2 options. The fact that we could be trending, and again, so early, so early, they could turn this ship around and they could be trending in that direction with a top 6 seed, not saying that's out of the equation. But yeah, pretty much 20. But let's just do this real quick too. Even in the Eastern Conference. So in the Eastern Conference, it's at 10th right now, right? Above Boston, you got Atlanta. We could be better than Atlanta, right? Even playing the way we are, we could still finish better than Atlanta. Toronto.
Atlanta is hilarious, but go ahead.
Toronto, Miami, those 3 teams, all the playing teams, you're thinking, okay, that's probably in the most likely scenario, Boston's competition this year in what the level they're on. And then above that, I think is where you get, okay, if Boston starts, exceeding their expectations, they can start talking Philly, Milwaukee, in Detroit, in Chicago, although Chicago's playing some phenomenal basketball. So it's like, if you look at it in the Eastern Conference grand scheme of things, it lightens up a little bit versus the league, because the West is really probably 10 teams deep compared to the East. It's about 3 or 4. So it's just like, that's how I look at it. I mean, where would you put them right now? I mean, you said what, 18th, 16, 18.
Well, Chicago really going to be that team this year? Really?
They might, they give Pacer vibes.
Seriously?
They give Pacer vibes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see more out of Chicago, right? Because last year it's like, oh, Brooklyn, and Brooklyn, they didn't exactly finish the season. But that's the difference between Chicago and everybody else. Chicago never really wants to tank. Like I see this potentially as a head start for their candidacy for the 10th seed later on down the line. Like we really started the season well. That's why we're here at 10. Later on down the line. But right now the Celtics are at 10. What I find interesting is you'd think, okay, Orlando under the Celtics, you'd have to think they're going to eventually hop the Celtics, maybe, right? If they don't have a totally disastrous season. So that puts the Celtics at 11th in the East. Every team in front of the Celtics at that point, like, it's possible the Celtics are the 11th best team in the Eastern Conference and miss the play-in. And I'll say, in that scenario, do things start going south near the end of the season where, Jaylen Brown is out with an ankle sprain and, Sam Hauser is traded away for nothing, as we see that trend happening within the organization. But the Western Conference, just to speak on that, seems to be formed. I mean, what I like about this time of year, the standings seem to be forming a little more towards what we know they're going to be in the long run. But yeah, I mean, in the West, the Celtics could be the 10th best team or the. See, this is where I'm just sitting here. I'm not always a big follower of narratives. I like substance, right? The Eastern Conference this year, just saying, there are maybe 10 teams who are not quality, but 10 teams that I know, okay, they could be the top 10 play or the playoff and playing teams. The West, the 10th team right now is Utah. And you had Phoenix, who's a mess, Memphis, a mess, Sacramento, a mess, Dallas, a mess, New Orleans, a mess. Maybe you have more teams that are a mess in the West than the East this year, just saying. Especially considering Chicago's at the first seed right now, and that's easily the surprise of the season. I don't know how else you could pin a team as the surprise team. You want to say the Jazz at 3-5, but one of those wins comes against the Celtics. But yeah, the Celtics, I mean, they're what you have at least nine teams in both conferences ahead of the Celtics. I mean, yeah, they're somewhere around 18, 19, 20 in my mind right now, but I would just picture them when it comes to actually the market rankings of where they're at. They're definitely somewhere in that category because at no point in the season, because of all the inconsistencies, maybe the Cavaliers game, maybe that game alone, maybe that's where you could upgrade the Celtics, but every other game, I mean, you're not upgrading. Oh wow, they defeated the Sixers by one, and they lost by one to the Sixers. Now they're losing to the Jazz at home. Oh, they barely got past the Pelicans. Now they're of course barely. I don't want to say barely getting past the Wizards, but they're not exactly handling the Wizards throughout the full 48 minutes worth of basketball. So that's the unfortunate part about this team is the inconsistencies just do not allow for any confidence of this thing is going somewhere.
Well, let me
Right? It
ask
just
you
feels
this.
like we're waiting. We're waiting for this to go somewhere, but this is where it's going. It's just going to go back and forth until the team decides we either need to upgrade at center, we need to get a real guy in here, and we need to eliminate redundancy, upgrade at center, or we're going to tear down the entire roster. Players are going to sit with injuries, and we're going to tank. That's what
I
it is.
think I think I agree with that. I think that through 9 games, mind you, 9 games, I think that's the best assumption to make. Was this team will be either 2 games over 500 or 2 games under 500, probably for the entirety of the season, until organization come January and February, Brad Stevens and company says, okay, this is the direction we have to take this team, right? Okay, Hauser, you're dealt. And we're going to talk about that actually very shortly. Hauser, you're dealt for a couple draft picks. Okay, maybe Simons, you're dealt, right? Maybe you got a couple for a first or two for Simons, or maybe you move Simons in for nothing, right? Or if Boston's looking to win, maybe they're making, okay, Simons is dealt for a big man, a contending big man, right? Or maybe Hauser is dealt for, Simons and Hauser are dealt for 2 other pieces, right? We talk about swapping, a $26 million player for 2 $13 million players. So I think that is the most fair assessment to make of this team through 9 games is this is what they're going to be, right? They will be about a 500 ball club until Brad Stevens makes a decision on what he wants the Celtics season to play out. And I do believe that they need to be careful in doing so. I do believe that's a dangerous, slippery slope to play. I believe that Brad might have fumbled coming into the season and building a collective core. But I think that's fair to say. Now, Seamus, I want to ask you this on this topic. You got Josh Minott playing. I mean, the 22-year-old is playing, he's trying to earn a contract. You can tell Josh Mine is looking at the opportunity this season with the Boston Celtics and saying, okay, this is a real opportunity for me. I'm getting to start. Minott wasn't playing in games last year, and he's starting this year, right? So you can see he's taking advantage of this opportunity. When you got a player like that at that age with this contract, playing on both ends of the floor at the level in which he's playing, do you look at a guy like Sam Hauser, who is making $8 million this season more this year, who is probably in a trade value, in a trade market, holds a little bit more value than Josh Minott. Do you think this opens the door to move on from the Sam Hauser saga in Boston come February, come January? Is that a possibility?
Well, I gotta say first, Sam Hauser, when you say value, does he have trade value right now? Because $10 million to shoot 1 of 8 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, and mind you, it's pretty rare he took two-point attempts tonight. Sam Hauser takes the most threes out of anybody in the league. I mean, his 3-point rate is somewhere up around 95%. I mean, it's crazy. 9 out of every 10 shots is a 3-point shot for Sam Hauser. But this is what I'm really looking at. 22-20 played for Sam Hauser tonight. Or rather, Sam Hauser played 22-20 in this game against the Wizards. Josh Minott played 33-43. So basically 34 minutes versus 22 and a half minutes. That is a pretty big discrepancy between guys making $2 million and another guy making, of course, $10 million. Minott making 2 and Sam Hauser making 10. Some of those numbers alone will tell us where a story's going. When Sam Hauser's coming off the bench, shooting 1 of 8 from the field, playing 22 minutes, and he's making $10 million, and he's playing behind a guy who's making 2, who's coming into the game, and mind you, shooting 8 of 12 tonight, 3 of 6 from 3. And he also grabbed 5 rebounds, came up with 3 steals, 21 points in nearly 34 minutes played. Josh Minott, also, he's 22 years old. Sam Hauser, what is he, 26, 27 now? I want to say somewhere around that age. But regardless, you look at the age discrepancies there, 27 years old for Sam Hauser, by the way. But the age discrepancy, the contract discrepancy, the minute discrepancy, the statistical discrepancy, the production discrepancy. Every single discrepancy goes to the favor of Minott. And when one looks at that, especially knowing Sam Hauser has not been all that productive this season. He was up and down last season, even though he shot 40% from 3. He's making $10 million a year. This contract is all of a sudden, when the Celtics are looking at it, not all that valuable. It might have been seen as valuable coming into this season. $10 million sharpshooter. Okay, we understand he plays a definitive role. He's been here for multiple years. He's going to be within the system, and he's going to be Sam Hauser was thought to be crucial for this season, especially considering the Celtics, if they want to run and gun, play a fast-paced game, shoot a lot of threes. Well, Sam Hauser is going to have to be part of that equation. Well, this season, he's playing behind Minott, who's been more productive. Last season, he was inconsistent. All of the discrepancies are in favor of Minott. This is 100% a spot and a moment. And I want to say a building moment, too, because right now it's not the exact moment in which the Celtics move on from Hauser. But right now, I believe the data is being put forth and the situation and circumstances are starting to form for one day in the near future, potentially February, that day to be the day the Celtics move on from Sam Hauser, whether it's a salary dump trade, whether it's a trade to actually acquire a player the Celtics can use and will be valuable on court for the Celtics. A name I look at that we'll talk about in the future, Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, Sam Hauser for Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't exactly solve the equation, but Simons, Hauser, a first-round pick for Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe then you're talking if you're the Celtics. Maybe you're talking elimination of redundancy, elimination of rogue salary who's not producing for you, and, of course, the addition of a big and a stretch 5 and a guy who can even play the 4 as well onto the roster and filling a void the Celtics are currently experiencing every single game, even this game early on. Talked about it earlier. What plagued the Celtics early on in this game? It was some of the size differences out on the floor. But speaking on Sam Hauser, I think Sam Hauser 100% is turning into a trade candidate for the Celtics later on down the line. And this is not just a later on down the line situation. I think right now it's becoming extremely evident. Extremely. I mean, it's already a mistake. The Celtics already made a mistake by keeping Sam Hauser on a $10 million deal and letting Luke Cornett go for $10 million. Luke Cornett, he's playing like a $20 million center. Sam Hauser, he's playing like an under $2 million forward, apparently, knowing what Minot can do. That's where this is at. Both of those guys make $10 million. Luke Cornett's on the $20 million production side. Sam Hauser is on the $2 million production side. And unfortunately, the Celtics went with the guy who's on the $2 million production side right now, still making $10 million. And that alone, without all the rest of the conversation, that alone could be the reason as to why the Celtics eventually move on from Sam Hauser. Again, whether it's salary dumping him or actually adding him onto a deal in which makes the team a little bit better, which one would hope at this point in time. Can we see a deal that makes the Celtics better? Have we seen that in this summer at all? It's not the summer anymore, but this year, I don't think so.
I don't think we've seen it at all. Well, I think that's the tough part about it too, is like, I think there's a couple frustrating factors you have to look into it. First being the fact that they didn't sign Luke Cornett. They let him walk and they kept Hauser. And like that's frustrating because I think that's the first move Brad Stevens has made where you scratched your head and you said, what are you doing? Right. Where it's like, okay, that's a little frustrating. Like, oh, that move is that there was a clear decision. Okay, Hauser or Cornett, you move off. If you can move off Niang, right? And this is the frustrating part. If you were able to dump Niang so easily, you could have dumped Hauser 10 times easier than Niang, because I believe Hauser holds significantly more value than Niang. So that's frustrating. And then but I do think the unfrustrating part, and this is where it's like, the Brad Stevens magic checks in again. It's like, here he is. This is what makes him so good, is then he goes and signs Minot. And I think he struck gold with Minot, because it feels like we have been waiting so long, Seamus, for a player like Minot, a 6'8" athletic playable wing to pair alongside Tatum and Brown for so long. When was the last time we had a guy like that coming off the bench for the Celtics? I can't even, maybe Marcus Morris back in 2018 was like the last forward Boston had. That was like, yes, you're a multi-tool guy that is above 6'8", who we can put out there and feel really comfortable playing. Because they tried Neesmith, they tried Langford. Those were two fails. And then they pivoted over to Hauser, and Hauser was really great in his role. But since then, off the bench has been a whole lot of guard play, right? Brogdon and White came off the bench, and now you have Pritchard, and then you struck gold with Cornett. It's just been this everlasting cycle of, okay, we kind of are a forward away from really pairing Brown and Tatum and letting them be comfortable. What's so appealing to me, and I think there's absolutely a Sam Hauser trade potentially brewing. What's so appealing to me is that, like, listen, you could potentially move Jaylen Brown back to Brown's a shooting guard. He got drafted as a shooting guard. Jason got drafted as a small forward. That's what their true positions are. You can move Derek White now back to that one. I mean, I believe you put Minot next to guys next to Jason Tatum in that lineup. You got that's a great pairing. You talk about White, Brown, Tatum, Minot. That's awesome. You're confident. You're finally like, yes, we finally have that forward, that multi-tool forward. And you said it and you nailed it and you hit it on the head. I think what the no-brainer is that Minot does substantially more than Hauser does on the basketball floor. He rebounds, he plays defense, he's a great spacer. He's been able to show off he can knock down that corner three at a good enough rate. He's a phenomenal diver. He's athletic. He makes plays. I mean, he checks every box. He checks every box you want to see out of a role player. And Hauser, phenomenal sharpshooting upside. But what else is there? So I agree with you. Like, trade Hauser, move off of him, bite the bullet. You should have signed Cornett. You didn't. You're now without Luke Cornett. Move off of Hauser. You found your guy. You finally found your athletic forward. You got to move off of him.
I at this point, look at the minute total and look at his contract. It's not, those numbers aren't that far off. 10 and 18, or sorry, actually played 22 tonight. What am I talking about? But regardless, still, those numbers aren't too far off. It's like he doubled his contract worth with minutes tonight. That is the biggest concern here, is Sam Hauser, with that contract and with the history he owns with the Celtics. One would expect he should be in the starting lineup. He should be producing for the starting lineup. Yet he's coming off the bench playing more than 10 minutes less than Josh Minot, who was signed on a minimum this summer, who's 5 years younger than Sam Hauser. He's playing 10 less minutes plus than Minot, and he's shooting 1 of 8. And I understand the game against the Cavs. I mean, that game comes out 4 of 4, shoots 5 of 6 from 3 in the first quarter. That is the peak of Sam Hauser. That's the game that keeps Sam Hauser in the building, where everybody looks at that game and goes, this is exactly what we need out of Sam Hauser, and this is why he's so valuable. But when he's not doing that consistently, and that's what I feel from Sam Hauser. It felt like in 21-22, and now that was his two-way year, right? So that was not even, I really shouldn't even count that as a data point, but 22-23, that was the emerging year of Sam Hauser. And 23-24, he was a more consistent three-point shooter just in general. Now, last year, he shot 40% from 3, but it felt like it was okay, he's making, say, we've already seen it at the beginning of this season. The other night against the Cavs, he shoots 6 of 11, right, from 3. Tonight, he shoots 1 of 6. So we're seeing he can shoot, say, 5 for 5 or 4 for. Now, in that Cavs game, he shot 4 for 4. But, for example, he shoots 4 for 4 to start a game. And then another game, he starts the game and shoots 1 of 6 in its entirety. He's not putting up the volume, and he's not hitting at the same clip. That's the inconsistent nature of Sam Hauser. Instead of consistently hitting threes, 2 of 3 here. He's 3 of 4 the next game. And he might go 1 of 3 this game. Some of the volume was a little lower in the past for Sam Hauser when his role was a bit smaller. But nowadays, the volume's higher. He's not hitting at the highest of clips, and it's inconsistent. It comes in bunches. It's, wow, Sam Hauser looked great in this quarter, looked great in this game. And now the next game, he's not even a factor. And there's too many of those games where he's just not a factor in the lineup whatsoever. If he's not hitting that three-point shot, he's a liability on the defensive end of the floor. And offensively, if you look at his three-point rate, he's up there. He is up there with Duncan Robinson and all the rest of the three-point shooters, the pure three-point shooters in this league. And some of the old guys, I know, some of the older players, if they looked at the three-point rates of some of the players nowadays, especially the three-point specialists, they don't shoot twos. They don't shoot layups. They don't shoot twos. They don't shoot anywhere inside of the arc. That's Sam Hauser. If he's not shooting anywhere inside of the arc, he's not a playmaker. He's a liability on the defensive end of the floor. He's not hitting his shot. He's not an efficient player for the Celtics to have out there. And that's why we're seeing Minot out there more often than Hauser. The Celtics understand that, but starts to come to the contractual conversation as well, starts leaking into that later on in the season. So, now, one would hope the Celtics would try to upgrade with Sam Hauser, but there's also another world where the Celtics could shed more salary and dump Sam Hauser and his contract later on down the line, especially in February, when that's going to be the last transaction window in which the Celtics can actually go ahead and cut more salary before the salary numbers are actually due near the end of the season, or at the end of the season, I should say. But at this moment in time, Sam Hauser, there's time for this to turn around. I'll say that. Okay, there's a little bit of time. He could go on a hot streak and save his job in Boston, but if it continues in this manner, it will not persist for the long run. That's for sure.
Well, and I will preface this: Hauser is who Hauser is, right? It's like we talked about this with the Jaylen Brown, right? Like what Brown's doing this year is exactly what we expected. So Hauser is now in year 5. So he's just going to be a sharpshooter. Right? He's going to be a guy that knocks down shots, and when he's got it, he's really got it from behind the arc. But I think with Boston, it's like if you're like arranging budget, like, is Hauser really going to be worth $10 million? So it's like, okay, if Hauser, even if he plays better, in my eyes, okay, it ups his trade value. Awesome, we're getting more for him, right? It's like, I don't see a world where the Celtics should keep Sam Hauser. And I think the better he's playing, awesome, more value, beautiful. Something I can package alongside Simons, and it looks a whole lot more pretty. So I believe Hauser, without any without playing worse or playing better. I just think it all determines what you're getting back for him. I really don't believe there's a spot for him. I think especially with how Minot's been playing. But Seamus, the Celtics got a game this Friday against the Orlando Magic in their second NBA Cup matchup. Boston's actually 1-0 in the Cup. You know, they might be 4-5 on the season, but they are absolutely undefeated in the NBA Cup. They will have an opportunity to continue that streak and make it 2-0 in the NBA Cup. What are you looking for out of Boston against this Orlando Magic team that has been struggling recently?
Well, I didn't know we were going to be fighting for a play-in spot with the Magic this year, but that's how it's lined up in the standings right now, as we mentioned earlier. But the Magic, they have not started the season all that well and have not lived up to expectations. The Magic, to me, are always a team that play the Celtics well. As we saw in that playoff series last year, the defense from the Orlando Magic was absolutely off the charts. The thing about the Magic right now, it's some of the jump shooting problems. Once again, it's the offensive creation within that team and the hierarchical structure of that team. Now, Desmond Bain, they made that trade, but the question I had at the time was, even trading for Desmond Bain, you know, who's the main playmaker within this offense? Is it going to be Paolo Banchero? You would hope, if you're the Magic, that's who the guy is one day. But up to this point in this season, it really hasn't culminated in wins. It hasn't culminated in the success the Magic have expected to see. And this is starting to become a Magic team 2 years ago, right? 2023, 24. The Celtics could have faced the Magic in the second round that year. Game 7 in the first round between the Cavs and the Magic happened. The Cavs eventually won that game. It was Cavs Celtics semifinals, round 2, but could have been the Magic. And the Magic forced a game 7 in that series. And after that series, everybody thought the Magic are that up and coming Eastern Conference team. Watch out for the Orlando Magic. I remember I had them as a top 3 seed last season. Coming into this season, I had the Magic. I had them as the first seed this year. I'm afraid to say right now. I was going to say, oh, top 3 seed. No, I had them as the first seed coming into this year. But
I was on that train with you.
Hey, yeah, everybody's on the Magic train.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, that sounds like the best train to be on in the NBA, the Magic train. And the Wizards train. I don't know if we want to be on that
but there's something about the Magic train just sounds right.
It sounds good. But the Magic, in their entirety right now, they're kind of, I mean, I'm not gonna panic on this Magic team because there's a lot more time and this is the beginning of the season. And let's face it, I don't want to say they're a new club, but there are some newer components to that squad which need to be developed over time. That being said, the Magic from 2 years ago feels like they're losing their lust just a little bit. They're starting to become the 2021 Atlanta Hawks, or that Hawks team made the conference finals, and the next year everybody was going, watch out for Atlanta. They're going to be at the top of the East. And then they're the 8th seed. They're playing in the play-in. They're 500. And then they went on that ridiculous stretch over 100 games where they were 500 at every mark. I mean, this is the second time we mentioned that on here. But the Hawks, they're that team. Just 500, 500, 500 right after they made the Eastern Conference Finals. And everybody thought, oh, they're going to be at the top of the Eastern Conference standings. Well, they proved to be the 500 team they were. After that, multiple seasons after that moment. And eventually, at a certain point in time, everyone hopped off the Atlanta Hawks. And I was going to say the train, but like the bird, they hopped off the back of the Hawk. Like Shaq, no more, ha, ha, ha. But everybody backed off the Hawks. And now it just feels like, okay, the Magic, they're almost that. I don't want to say they're in the same category, but they're inching towards the same land. They are. I mean, they're 2 years ago, they're this young and up and coming team. Last year, all the injuries, we gave them the excuses of the oblique injuries to Wagner and Paolo Banchero, and Jalen Suggs was out during that playoff series against the Celtics in the second half of the season. Gave them all the excuses. Now this season, if the Magic aren't up there in the standings, and it's not because of, of course, more injuries, which that could be a thing, even that health, the best ability is availability. But the Magic, if they're not up there in the standings this year, they start to lose their lust from where they were 2 years ago. 2 years ago, everybody thought up and coming team next year. If the Magic finish in that play-in range once again, or somewhere near it, next year, everybody's going to recalibrate their view on the Magic and say, well, that's a play-in team. Like we've done with the Hawks. Over time, we've gone, no, the Hawks are not going to be top 3, top 4. They're going to be in that play-in range. Until this season, when they added Porzingis, everybody thought, wow, they have a center. Look at this lineup. And all of a sudden, Trae Young and Porzingis are missing all this time. Who could have predicted that one? That Porzingis would miss a bunch of time. But the Hawks, everybody jumped off that train. The Magic, same ordeal going on there. Just saying, over time, the Celtics on Friday, this is a team in the Magic who should be definitively better than the Celtics, but the records right now have them slotted actually under the Celtics. And the Celtics face the Magic twice. They'll play the Magic in 2 straight games this weekend. I believe, once on Friday and then Monday, or is it Sunday? Either or. But it's many 2-game series, so Friday, kind of crucial to set the tone of the series for the Celtics in my mind, and not, again, dig themselves a hole where they could potentially lose 2 straight games to the same opponent, and a better opponent at that. So that's what the Celtics have to be mindful for on Friday. Just coming out and playing strong, as we saw they didn't do tonight.
I'll tell you what, it screams split. I don't think the Celtics are going to be able to sweep them, but I could be so wrong, and I hope they do. And in order for them to sweep them, I think they're going to need to come out, and like you said, they're going to come out strong. They need to come out physical.
Win the cup game.
Yes, win the cup game. Win the
cup game.
Win the cup.
Forget the other ones.
Yeah. But I think they got to come out strong. They got to come out physical. Orlando is a team that is going to play extremely physical. We know how we saw it in last year's playoffs. Boncaro and Wagner are 2 very physical guys on offense and on defense. So I really think Boston's going to need to be locked in. I do believe this is actually a good benchmark for Boston, because if Orlando is not as good as we think, maybe this is Orlando team that you see in the play-in, or maybe you see later down the road. So I do like that. I do like this matchup. I think it's going to be a fun little mini 2-game series. I think this is like the first real benchmark Boston will have where they stack up, because both teams are kind of underperforming at where they should be, even though Boston technically for Vegas standards is kind of right around where everyone expected them to be. And then lastly, this is a great opportunity to get over 500 for the first time this season. So I would love to see that. But again, guys, that game is going to be this Friday in Boston for the first, or excuse me, in Orlando for the first matchup of this of the Celtics versus Magic, the first of 2 in the NBA Cup game. Tip-off for that game is at 7 o'clock Eastern time, guys. After the final buzzer sounds over there, you can come right back here to the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel and we will have you covered for CTW Postgame Live, guys. As for
Snow White Rover, hold up, man. Hold up. This man's barking in the comments section out here. Man, come on camera. Come on camera. Let's close this one out.
Snow White Rover versus Celtics Talk Weekly. Let's do it. But guys, again, as for tonight, this Boston Celtics, they win 136-107 against the Washington Wizards and improve to 4-5 on this season. Guys, if you're not already subscribed, do that right now. And while you're at it, hit the post notifications, because we goes live after every Celtics game and then some. And you'll get notified just when we go live. Guys, we will see you Friday night for a matchup against the Orlando Magic. I'm your host, Robbie Tan. Next to me is my man, Seamus Zarlingo, guys. Until next time.